Hello and welcome back to the Odds Now YouTube channel for the latest episode of the Betting Breakdown, our weekly podcast that rounds up all the key stories ahead of another week of sports betting. If you're finding us for the first time, welcome along, but if you're a regular, well, it's still great to have you back. And either way, please do check if you're already subscribed or not to the Odds Now YouTube channel. Hitting that button helps us grow the channel further and continue to provide loads of free, insightful content for all you sports betting enthusiasts. As always, it's me, Matt Hill, in the hosting chair, and this week I'm joined by my regular two guests, Felix Morson-Pate and Adam Smith, to get us up to speed on their respective disciplines. Let's have a look what's coming up in today's show. Well, myself and Felix normally talk football, and we've been doing a lot of that over the last few months. If you haven't already checked out our 6-part mini-series previewing the 2026 FIFA World Cup, head over to Odds Now's YouTube channel after this video and give that a watch. Let us know what you think. But no football this week, so we took a little bit of a break and went elsewhere. Felix joined me to chat darts after an epic Premier League finals night where Luke Littler reigned supreme once again. Every single possible leg played on the night. We recap an epic night of arrows and also consider whether or not Littler's major domination is set to continue. Felix also gave me his thoughts on the French Open men's tennis, where the draw was blown wide open last week after Jannik Sinner withdrew injured when 2-0 and ahead in the third set. He was matched at 1-1 for thousands and thousands, but his exit has blown the tournament right wide open. So who is poised to take advantage? Felix gives us his thoughts on the men's and the women's draw. And then usual racing chat from Adam Smith from Races Now. He joins us to talk about an epic week of flat racing coming up. We're headlined by the Epsom Oaks and Epsom Derby. Smith has been looking ahead to these races for weeks over on oddsnow.com. He re-clarifies his positions on both of the classics, gives us his best bets for the market as it is right now, and also takes a little look at the Coronation. If you enjoy the pod, give it a thumbs up below, and please don't forget to comment and let us know what your best bets of this week are. We'll also take any questions and make sure we get them covered in future episodes. It's great to have you along. Now let's get into the betting chat. Let's kick off with Felix, who, as I said, popped in to chat all things darts and tennis. Well, good to be with Felix once again for a bit of sports chat. It's normally football, isn't it, on this show? But actually, we haven't got an awful lot of football to talk about this week. I think that might change next week, mind. I have my suspicions with a big tournament kicking off in the USA, and I've already plugged the World Cup podcast many times, shamelessly, already, I'm sure. So no need for me to reference that again. But Felix, this week, you're going to show your versatility to the viewers. We're going to discuss a couple of sports with yourself. Darts, which I normally end up covering off on my own on this podcast, so nice to have somebody to chat darts with, and I know you're a big fan of the darts. And tennis, where we're having a remarkable fortnight over at Roland Garros on both sides of the draw. But we'll start with darts before we tackle that. We had Premier League finals night last week. It was an epic night of arrows. I don't think anybody could dispute that. Every single possible leg was played, with 2 10-9 semi-finals and an 11-10 final. It was slightly less surprising who ended up with the name on the trophy in terms of Luke Littler. He continues this phenomenal record in majors. So I guess my first question to you would be, do you feel like this streak of Littler majors is set to continue? Is he unopposable on the major stage, or did last week show that actually it's fine margins?
Well, I think it kind of showed that it is fine margins, but when it comes down to the crunch, he's pretty hard to beat. I remember, it reminds me of that streak that Van Gerwen went on a few years ago in last leg deciders, where if you took him to a last leg decider, you just knew he was going to win it. And I think he won like 30 odd in a row on TV and on the Euro Tour. And Littler's got that air of inevitability and almost invincibility about him now. I mean, the big stat, isn't it, is it games over 20 legs. He's only ever lost one, and that was to Humphries in the World Final before he was even a tour card holder. So since he joined the tour, he's never lost a game that's gone more than 20 legs. And he obviously has lost finals. He's been knocked out of majors, but it's feeling increasingly likely that you have to knock him out of one of these TV tournaments early. We saw James Wade do it in the Europeans last year, and that's obviously the crowd factors on that one. We saw the Germans do it in the World Cup last year, again in Germany. And the only person we have seen beat him in a final is Luke Humphries. So Humphries knows he can do it, and if they do continue to play, I would still continue to back Humphries because I know he will over the law of averages, get over the line a couple more times over him. He played phenomenally in that Grand Prix final last year, but because of the set format, Littler just kept winning these deciding legs, and the scoreline really did flatter him a bit. And yeah, and we've seen players beat him in the Premier League as well in that shorter format, so they know it can be done. It's just, he has this knack, doesn't he, of starting slow and then catching up. And people have got to start taking more advantage of those slow starts. And if they do, then that air of invincibility will drop, and he will become a lot more opposable in these majors.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, really. I think that we've seen the flip side of this probably in more recent times. You're right to compare it to Van Gerwen, obviously, who had this. I think a lot of people who maybe didn't watch darts as religiously even 5-6 years ago probably underestimate just how dominant Michael Van Gerwen was around that sort of 2017, 2018 period. He was like Littler on steroids, really. He was unbeatable on pretty much any type of event, floor or otherwise. And the one with Littler, I suppose, that's interesting at the moment is he's very much picking and choosing his schedule, not turning up to any Pro Tours this year, barely seeing him on the European Tours. So you really are only seeing him on the big stages, and he's irrepressible on the big stages. He has such confidence. He's got himself out of all sorts of situations. He's dominated from the start. He's come from behind. He can win any game. He's never really beaten. I do find myself, both as someone who likes to, back bigger prices, and somebody who knows that these sort of streaks can't go on forever, just in the sheer numerical perspective. I do find myself wanting to take him on, but you have to be realistic when you go into a major. There's a very, very good chance Littler's going to pick it up. And when you're getting even money quotes, which is effectively a 50-50 chance of him winning majors, you certainly would be better off today having just backed him every single time blindly and trusted that he'll do his thing in the majors. Do I think that will continue for the next 2 years? I don't think he'll win as many as he has done, but I think he'll continue to be a very regular winner of major tournaments. In terms of the players that can beat him, Luke Humphries is the absolute obvious candidate. I would personally say that backing Luke Humphries for the World Championship, I think is about 13-2 or 6-1, is an absolute no-brainer, because I think that the gap between him and Littler is nowhere near that big. 13-2 available at the minute for Luke Humphries versus 10-11 Littler. I just don't think the gap is anywhere near that big. I think Luke Humphries admitted that he had a dip in the back end of last year where he was struggling with his mind a little bit, struggling with the travel, being away from family. Seems to have come out the other side of that now. He's obviously had a little bit of a experiment at the start of the year and the back end of last year with slowing his throw down. Seems to be reaping the rewards of that at the minute. Looks really happy in himself. I think you could do way worse than just back Humphries each way 13-2. They're going to be on opposite sides of the draw, or like almost certainly, because I can't see Humphries dropping out of the top three. And at the very least, you've run a good bet for the final, I would say. But I do think there's other players that can beat him. I'm getting a little bit worried about Gerwin Price now. I backed Gerwin Price last week at finals night, and it was a funny old game, wasn't it? To'd and fro'd. I mean, Price probably should have been home and dry after the first 10 legs and was 6-4 down. Then it looked like he'd thrown the towel in, and then you're in the last leg decider. And I think that the thing Price has in his favour is he clearly can get in Littler's head and under his skin, which we've seen a few times. But he's on this ridiculous streak of losses now, which again is bound to snap at some point, but it is maybe just becoming a slight concern. But I still give plenty of other players a chance of beating him. They just need a lot to fall right for them. An informed Van Veen, Nyman, Van Gerwen, they'd all have a decent chance against him. I tend to agree with you at the majors. It's got to be early. If he's still there come the quarterfinals, you're toast, really. He seems to get better as the tournaments go on as well, and his powers of recovery are second to none. So I know a lot of people think it's a bit boring. It's making darts a little bit boring at the moment. It seems to be a bit of a consensus in the general public, but I think like all these eras, you had it with Taylor, you had it with Van Gerwen, you have it in various other sports. You always are going to have someone who's the man. And I think when time passes, people will look back on this, what Luke Littler has been doing over the last couple of years, and realise just how special it is, really. So he's definitely still an asset to darts, even if he does cost me money on a semi-regular basis, I have to say. In terms of the Premier League next year, Felix, we don't know whether there's going to be format changes. I think the general feeling is there should be. A lot of people getting bored of this 16-week league format where we see the same players play 5-6 times before finals night. We'll just go on the presumption that it's still going to be 8 players. Would you expect to see lineup changes next year?
I would imagine so. I think there's a couple of things at play. Look, I think Bunting did well to end up coming 5th. I think he picked up 2 nightly wins, played well, was brilliant on that last night in Sheffield. I know it really didn't mean much because the top 4 was done and dusted, but he played really well. But again, it's just he has to keep delivering on the big stages in the majors, and he's still never made a ranked TV final. I know he's won the Masters, but that was the last year of being unranked. He's still very rarely even making quarterfinals, semifinals these days. Not managed to pick up a Euro Tour as yet this year on one of the most open starts to a Euro Tour season we've seen. So his place could be under threat. Josh Rock obviously struggled for a lot of it. Again, it's very dependent on how his year goes on TV because it is an exhibition, isn't it? So those would be the two that are under threat. Gian obviously will probably still be in the top 4 come selection next year, so we'll be in, but needs to fight back from this illness that he's been having and these form and confidence issues, certainly. In terms of who could come in, I think the obvious name has to be Wessel Nyman. We're still yet to see him have a big run on TV, but I know you've already put him up for the match play at a decent looking price, and it's just got to happen sooner rather than the numbers he's putting in and performances, and he's beating the big players now. He smashed up Going Price in that Euro Tour final earlier in the season. He's been ridiculous on the floor. He's a big scorer. He's Dutch. He ticks that international box. I think he's one that we should be looking at to enter the fray for the Premier League next year. I mean, the way Luke Woodhouse is playing, you wouldn't really write him off. He's into the top 16 now. He's broken his titleless duck. He's now added a Euro Tour to that. Again, big scorer, hits 180s, gives it some to the crowd. He would be a really refreshing pick, I think. And if he can make, I think he's made 1 or 2 major semi-finals before. If he could, sneak to a major final of like European Champs or a Players' Championship finals, I'd love to see Luke Woodhouse be given a go in the Premier League. As something a little bit different. It's a bit of a, we've had a few mid-tier English players in there in the past. People like Chris Dobie, Dave Chisnell, they've been in that similar place in the rankings and similar-ish successes on TV, not picking up stuff but going deep in majors. So there's no reason why Woodhouse can't replicate that for me.
Yeah, left field shot. I like it, but I mean, he is playing so well. It definitely feels like the rest of the year, the majors will present a huge opportunity for somebody to just seal that Premier League spot. I feel for Josh Rock because he definitely deserved to be in there, but it was a disaster of a campaign. There's no way, unless he wins a major, they can put him straight back in.
And it's happened to people. It happened to Michael Smith in his first year, and he came back brilliantly.
Yeah, we've seen some great players finish bottom of the Premier League. Going Price, Rob Cross, like loads of top like world champions have had horrendous campaigns. I mean, there's a few left fielders that you could put in there. I mean, Kevin Dutz seems to have gone to a new level. He's a very popular player. And, he's now just 50-1 for the World Championship. It's been a real plunge on Dutz. And I can see why we need to see, like Nyman, we need to see it on the biggest stage before we can be fully confident. You make a good shout with Woodhouse. I'm sure James Wade would like to think he can force his way back.
Aspinall's playing all right again as well.
Aspinall seems convinced he will get himself back in. And
Ross Smith winning a Euro Tour.
He can go and win a major. Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of names in the mix, and it feels like if anyone can seize their chance with a run to the final at the match play or the, something like the Grand Prix, it really could open the door for a bit of a left field entry. But I'm sure we'll revisit that a bit nearer the time. Well, in terms of data this week, there's Pro Tour, there's World Series action. It's a little bit of a dip, but we do have the World Cup the week after, starting the same week as the Football World Cup. Same day. Yes, same day.
Amazing.
What a day. Yeah, very international vibes on that day. I'll be loving life. But yeah, I will look to be putting up a World Cup of Darts preview over on the channel. So if you're not already subscribed, do hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss that. Now, Felix, we're also going to chat tennis here because for anyone that doesn't follow the tennis religiously, I'm sure you'll have still seen the story, which was Jannik Sinner was the shortest price favourite we've had to win a men's major for, I reckon, a lot, maybe pushing a decade. I mean, you got to think we had the overlapping of eras, didn't we, with Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, where you always sort of had at least 2 competitive players. There might have been the odd one with injuries, but it's a very, very rare sight to have one man huge odds on to win a Grand Slam. That was because of an injury to Carlos Alcaraz, his sort of generational rival, who is going to miss this and miss Wimbledon. So Sinner was installed as a huge odds-on favourite, and sure enough, from 2 sets and 5-1 up, I think.
Yeah, needed a game.
His body started to literally shut down in front of everybody's eyes, and he lost 3-2, went out of the tournament, and we now have probably the most open-looking finish to a Grand Slam I can remember since I was a kid, really. Alexander Zverev is saying that a fairly solid favourite, but this is Alexander Zverev, who's been touted as a Grand Slam winner of the future since he broke through as a teenager. He's never managed to get over the line. He's been thumped by Sinner in a few finals. He's also chucked away a few other promising positions in recent years. So he's definitely got some mental baggage that he's got to carry. João Fonseca has been touted as one of the young stars of the future who can maybe get up to those Alcaraz and Sinner levels. I must say, he's had issues with his body as well at times as well, but it seems to be holding up at the minute. He's had some great wins so far, including knocking out Novak Djokovic from 2 sets down as well. So he's the second favourite at 7-2. And then it's pretty much a pick and beyond that. I mean, Felix Auger-Aliassime, 15-2, the Canadian. Kobali of Italy, 8-1. Rafael Jorda, who plays Zverev this afternoon, is 9-1. Berrettini, 20-1, former Wimbledon finalist. Jakub Mensik is 25-1. Matteo Arnaldi is 33-1. Felix, where do we start with this, really? I mean, I guess we start with Zverev, 11-8. He is playing as we speak, but would you want to be hanging your hat on Alexander Zverev at 11-8?
No, he's 5-3 down and a breakdown in the first set against Jordan. Look, I like Zverev, and I backed him for majors before, and he got me into a couple of finals, but it just feels like the nearly man of tennis, and I just think he might be feeling the pressure. He knows how open this is. Sinner out. His great rival Djokovic, who's cost him majors before, out. Medvedev, who he's always struggled against on the big stage, is out. I just think he's feeling all the pressure to come through and finally claim that title after a number of finals. Look, he absolutely breezed past Jesper de Jong in his 4th round game. But Jodar has just been a sensation on clay, and that's going to be no easy game for him, I don't think. I wouldn't be a backer at 11-8, but I do think he probably is the most likely winner. For me, I would actually have to go with my namesake in Felix Auger-Aliassime. He's up to world number 4. We've never really seen him perform this well on clay. He's always been quite a good hard-in grass court player, but he's come through some great. I mean, he was absolutely sensational, I thought, against Tabilo in the 4th round. He's a bit of a clay specialist, the Chilean.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I hadn't really got involved in this market, but I did have a bit of Tabilo at 100.
Yeah, and he was playing well before that.
Yeah, Auger-Aliassime just like cruised past him really good sets. Yeah, I definitely see the case there. Yeah,
it's a pick him against Kobali, but I think if he gets through that, he'd have the beating of both Arnaldi and Berrettini for me on clay. But I mean, Berrettini's kind of rolled back the years this week. We've seen him obviously make a Wimbledon final 5 years ago now. But again, he's been brilliant. Knocked out Cerundolo in straight sets yesterday when a lot of people were quite fancy.
He hold up though, because
that's always the thing with Berrettini.
He's had 4 years of absolute injury hell, hasn't he? Plummeted down the rankings,
and he's played 2 5-hour games this tournament as well.
In every one of these epics he comes through, whether it's going to have its knock-on effect. But yeah, I mean, we could look back on these as halcyon days for Italian tennis. They've got 3 out of the 4 quarterfinalists in the top half. I mean,
and their best player got knocked out as well.
Yeah, I know, it's remarkable. And if Auger-Aliassime doesn't make the final, then they've got a finalist guaranteed. So you make the case for Auger-Aliassime there. It's great. I don't know about it's a similar conversation to what we just had with Littler. Really, you've got to respect the greatness of Sinner, but there is no doubt these tournaments become a lot more interesting when, on the rare occasion, the massive favourite gets knocked out. I'm certainly going to, take a lot more interest in these quarterfinals and semi-finals now, because there isn't a feeling of inevitability about who's going to win. And even if Zverev wins and justifies the market favouritism at the moment, it's still going to be a big moment, isn't it? It's still going to be a huge moment for his career. So, looking forward to seeing how that pans out. I know you just wanted to touch on the women's section as well. I don't have the odds, unfortunately, typed up for you for the women's, but I can run you through them manually. But Felix, this has also been a tournament of shocks. I guess we expect it a little bit more with the women's side of things. I mean, there's 2 or 3 star players clearly, but there's no real dominance like we get in the men's with Alcaraz and Sinner. Obviously, some high-profile exits. Right now, Anya Sabalenka is still 5-6 favourite. Marta Kostyuk, who's been fantastic, already knocked out 2 of the well-fancied runners, and she plays Mira Andreeva. Diana Schneider, the American, is still in there. Kalinskaya is there, and Schwelinska as well. The last 3 I mentioned there are all 40-1 or bigger. So they're expecting 1 of 3 to come out on top here, Sabalenka and then Kostyuk and Andreeva, who play each other. Would you agree with that, Felix? Does it feel like it's between those 3?
I think so. I think Sabalenka is now rightly the market favourite. She's one of the dominant forces in women's tennis now. She never looked beaten. Cruised through against Naomi Osaka in the 4th round. And the two chief threats to her that I thought coming into this tournament in Iga Swiatek and Coco Gauff have fallen early. Neither of them making the quarterfinals. Obviously, Kostyuk taking care of Swiatek, and then world number 7th seed, Elina Svitolina, in back-to-back matches, which is very impressive performance for her. So I think they've got that right. And I do think that Sabalenka should come through to the final now, but I think she'll face a tough test against either Kostyuk or Andreeva for me.
Yeah, looks like whoever comes through that will come out on top. There'll be a massive fav in the final anyway, you would think. Yeah, so we shall see how things pan out on the women's draw side of things as well. Felix, that's it. But obviously, we're going to hear a lot more from you on the channel over the weeks ahead. It's all about World Cup. I've already mentioned it. We're World Cup podcast. 6-part mini-series is all live for you to enjoy. We've got another episode coming this Friday where me and Felix are going to put some sort of pre-tournament anti-post portfolios together for you to follow along with or disregard at your probably wisdom. And and then we've got the World Cup daily shows coming up. Really looking forward to that. And I'm sure you are too, Felix.
Absolutely. It's finally starting to feel real now. The squads are all confirmed. The shirt numbers are out. That's when you know it's real. And hopefully the player market should start appearing in the next couple of days. We're certainly trying to get them out Tuesday and Wednesday for the first round for our clients. So hopefully they'll start appearing and we can start tucking into those as well.
Good stuff. I'm looking forward to getting stuck into them on the pod anyway as well. Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Well, Felix, thanks for your time. We'll catch up with you next week.
Take care. See you soon.
Cheers, man. Good stuff there from Felix, as always. And as I say earlier in the episode, if you haven't already checked out our World Cup podcast that me and him have filmed, head over to Odds Now's YouTube channel. You'll find the playlist there. 6 episodes for you to gorge on before the tournament kicks off next Thursday. Now it's time for a bit of racing chat with that man, Adam Smith. Well, as always, Adam Smith on hand to get us up to speed with all things racing. It's a big week in the world of flat racing as well. Smith, we normally start by recapping last weekend. I'm not going to waste too much time with that because it was a pretty uneventful one, as we discussed on last week's pod. And even though my home city of Carlisle was top of the bill, it wasn't the most remarkable racing, was it?
No, not great. We went to Carlisle. They had one race from the previous week changed there. And then, it was a big day for Carlisle, really. A couple of group races. I'm not sure how many people they got through the door, to be honest.
Not many, I don't think.
Not the most exciting of weekends. We know why, because we've got Epsom and Royal Ascot on the horizon. Carlisle was I tipped up an early winner in Opportunity. Every man and his dog seemed to have been on that one. That went off a short price in the end, but it was still a loss on the day on the tips put up on the Racers Now Thursday show, unfortunately. All guns facing towards Epsom this weekend.
Yeah, certainly are. We have the Derby and the Oaks to discuss as well. We also have the Coronation Cup on the agenda as well. And like you say, Ascot isn't too far away. I'm just going to throw you in with the Derby and the Oaks. Everyone who watches this show will know that you're all over these markets all year round. So exciting time for you. Tell us about your outright positions and tell us how the market's looking right now.
Yep. So I've tipped up Pierre Bernard on May the 14th at 16-1 with a view that, frankly, he would go off half the price. It's even going beyond my expectations at the moment in the market. He's obviously got to do it possibly on the track on Saturday, but he's now top price 6-1, Pierre Bernard. As I've been saying for weeks on this very show, Benvenuto Cellini, I think, is a weak favourite for the Derby, and it appears that way that people are trying to take him on. He's pink on your odds comparison websites at the moment, and others are in the blue. There'll be an article out on oddsnow.com by the time you read this, where I'm going for Item. I think he's the best bet in the Derby. I think there's an argument to be made he could or should probably be favourite. I think that's unlikely to happen, but that's just how I feel about it. He's 4-1. Benvenuto is 2-1 best by the time you're looking at this. But I just think that Item has got the best form in the race at the moment as what is available. The Dante form, I think, is a hell of a lot better than the what we saw Benvenuto do at Chester. Benvenuto was winning at 2-9, beating horses rated 100, 97, 101, and 98. Meanwhile, in the Dante, which is always the best trial in the UK, Item, on just his seasonal debut, beating horses that all 7 of his opponents had a run already this season, so race-fit horses. He was beating horses that were rated 114, 110, and 111. So clearly, that is better form. Now, there is question marks over Item's stamina going into the Derby. Will he get a mile and a half? I've got no problems with it, as I saw at the Dante visually. I've got no concerns. If you want to dig deep enough into any pedigree of any horse, you could probably find a problem. I'm on. I've landed on Item, and when I do the SD and myself do a runner by runner guide on Races Now, all runners, in the Epsom Derby. There's 17 at the moment. We're going to be. I'll be tipping Item at 4-1. I think he's the best bet.
Yeah, Item then for Smid in the Derby, 4-1 available with various sportsbooks at the time of recording, which is Tuesday afternoon. Money for Pierre Bonnard, as you've already referenced there, Sea of Blue on odds comparison site, 6-1 best available. But Benevento Cellini remains the favourite, albeit a weak one. As predicted, well in advance by yourself, Smid. So well done with that analysis. Over to the Oaks end for the Phillies. Get us up to speed on this one, please.
Yeah, so the big news is that Precise, who won the 1,000 guineas just a couple of weeks ago, she was left in at the 5-day stage for the Oaks. Massive question marks over whether she will stay or not. And the rain, there's been 30 mil of rain at Epsom so far this week. We're on Tuesday afternoon. Actually, so far today, on Tuesday alone, from about 3 a.m. on Tuesday morning till 4-5 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon, there's been 30 mil of rain at Epsom. Apparently, I'm a long way from there, and so are you. But yes, so that has changed the going to good to soft. That should be the worst of it for this week, although there is some other showers forecast, but that should be definitely the biggest deluge and the worst of it out the way. Hopefully we end up in and around good all over for Friday and Saturday. So yeah, Precise with those stamina question marks looks now, thanks to the rain, unlikely to run. She's as big as 8-1 in the fixed odds market. She's absolutely as big as she's at any price you like in the on the exchange. Absolutely any price you want. So yeah, that means that Amelia Earhart, who I'm quite keen on, is shortening at the top of the market. No surprise there. That looks like to be the Aidan O'Brien #1. Ryan Moore probable to ride. Legacy Links at 3-1. Thundering On, the Joseph O'Brien trained horse, like Pierre Bonnard in the Derby market, has been the mover in the Oaks market. As a result of that rain, she's got form as a youngster on softer ground, let's say. Yeah, Thundering On, winner of a race at Navan Group 3 when we last saw her. For Joseph O'Brien, that's been the one for money. But yeah, unlike Benvenuto, who I'm against as favourite in the Derby, I have long been with Amelia in the Oaks. And as a result, she was on Monday. When did we do it with SD? Sunday night, when the 5-day stage entries were available. Amelia Earhart was at 5-2. My strategy was to have 1 point win on her during that recording, which I did at 5-2, with Precise still in there and still causing trouble in the market, if you like, and providing value. Then take another view on Thursday if and or not Precise is declared. Wednesday, should I say. It looks unlikely that she's going to be declared now. But anyway, I've tipped Amelia Earhart, Pierre Bonnard so far. And then when we go through all the runners, I will be tipping Item as well in the Derby at 4-1. Something to note there, Pie Man, is that both the Derby and Oaks, the Oaks on Friday, the Derby on Saturday, final field declarations are at 72 hours for the Derby this year. So both races, Oaks 48 hours, Derby 72 hours, will declare final fields on Wednesday, the 3rd of June. So you have an extra 24 hours, like they did for the Grand National, to really get stuck into that final field on the Derby. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, nice comprehensive roundup for us there. And the Coronation Cup you wanted to touch on as well.
Yeah, the other Group 1 of the weekend, if you like. Any regular readers, and there are many, Pieman, of my focus on the flat column on oddsnow.com. I put up, it's not on the official P&L because it was only available with one bookmaker, but I certainly put up the Aidan O'Brien to do the double at 6-1 to win both the Oaks and the Derby at 6-1. I advise that. And anyone with the same supplier that was that way inclined could have got 20-1 for Aidan O'Brien to win the 3 Group 1s at Epsom this weekend. That's the Coronation, the Oaks and the Derby. So hopefully a couple of readers got on that. But in the Coronation itself, this is the least likely Aidan O'Brien wins, because in there at the moment is Calandagan. He's the best turf horse, he's the best horse in Europe, full stop, possibly in the world, depending on which ratings you look at. He's 11-10 to win the Coronation. He was second in it last year behind Jan Bruegel for Aidan O'Brien. Jan Bruegel is also in it again this year at 11-4. So it looks like we're going to get a rematch of last year's Coronation Cup in this year's Coronation Cup, Calandagan and Jan Bruegel. What I would say is, Matt, is that just looking at very illiquid Betfair markets this morning, is that and into this afternoon, Calandagan pretty weak. There's someone out there to have pennies, not a whole lot, is looking to take on Calandagan. Whether they think that this rain is makes him less likely to run, I would disagree with that. This Calandagan's a horse that's got form on all sorts of ground, anything from good to soft at St. Cloud to good to firm in Tokyo. So for me, basically any going is fine for Calandagan, but there is someone out there looking to take him on. But yeah, it looks like a cracker. I think it will be, as we saw last weekend in the French Derby. We should probably mention that in a moment. There's going to be a lot of Aidan O'Brien, Ballydoyle team tactics this weekend as well. He's got 7 of the 17 in the Derby at the moment. That'll probably be whittled down to 4 or 5. Similar story in the Oaks. Well, this Coronation, we've got Jan Bruegel in there. Last year's Derby winner, Lambourne. Eleanor, you can set the pace. So they will be making it as difficult as possible for Calandagan in the Coronation. But I'm hoping, I've not backed him or tipped him individually, I'm hoping that Jan Bruegel and Aidan O'Brien can get the job done in the Coronation.
Yeah, while you're on such a roll, I'm going to let you finish with the French Derby, which you did just mention. Anything key to take away there that we haven't already covered?
Yeah, and Aidan O'Brien, 1, 2, 3. There was much talk when we spoke last week about Constitution River. Will he go to the Epsom or French Derby? And he went over to France for their non-derby. It's only a 10 furlong race. Yeah, he was drawn in the car park in stall 15. He went off 6 to 4-ish. And the 3 Ballydoyle runners led every single yard, all 3 of them. It was like something out of a computer game / training exercise. And good horses as well. The other 2 that finished behind him, Constitution River, was Montreal and Hawk Mountain. Hawk Mountain won the Racing Post Trophy last year. So good horse in his own right. I'd be interested in a price. It would be quite a niche that both Montreal and Hawk Mountain go on to in Group 1s this year. I wouldn't say it was nailed on, but if someone was offering me 3 to 1 for the pair of them to go and win individual Group 1s this year, I'd probably take it. But yeah, they just absolutely dominated. It looked a good renewal, the French Derby, to be fair. Not that I know a whole lot about the French form. There was a full brother to Dariz in there. Donica O'Brien actually got the 4th as well in my mate's Mozzie or Saucy or something like that, Susie. So yeah, they just absolutely dominated. It's worth going back to watch. There was a lot of hype behind Constitution River after his win at Chester. The one thing I took out of it, he looked like he would not stay a yard further than 10 furlongs. They made the right decision. There's no way he should have gone to the Epsom equivalent because he wouldn't stay 1.5 miles, in my opinion. Was I blown away by him? Probably not. Is he a good horse? Probably yes. But I wouldn't be in a massive rush to be backing him at 2 to 1 for the Eclipse at the moment, for example. But an exciting horse nonetheless.
Well, that's a very comprehensive roundup, as always, from Smid there. So Races Now is going to be busy this week, isn't it? The Thursday show is going to be a particular highlight. I know you've done every runner videos as well for the Derby and the Oaks, so people can head over there and check them out as well, correct?
Yep. We've done every runner in the Oaks previewed. Every runner in the Derby will be previewed. The Thursday show will give you all the best bets for Saturday from across the country. SD, I've got to get SD's line in that the best 3-year-old race this weekend is not at Epsom. It is at Hexham for the first juvenile hurdle of the season. You'll be proud of me for getting that in.
Of course. Well, yeah, if you want any more racing content, you know where to go. Races Now is top of the shop for free horse racing content on YouTube. Cheers for your time as always, Smid. We'll catch up again next week. Look forward to hearing how those races panned out for you. And chat soon.
Fingers crossed. Cheers.
Top stuff from Smido. And as always, please do make sure you head over to Races Now and check out the wealth of top class free horse racing insight and podcasts that are available there for you to enjoy. If you haven't already, make sure you hit subscribe to them as well. Well, that's all we've got time for on this week's episode of The Betting Breakdown. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, please do give us a thumb up and let me know what you're backing this week in the comments. In terms of odds now, I'll be back later in the week with Felix to give our best pre-tournament bets for the World Cup. So definitely have a look at that and feel free to rinse us for our selections if you don't agree with them. I'll see you again very soon. Good luck with your bets and have a good week.